This week on WNIN Newsmakers, we'll be talking to Centerpoint Energy about upcoming rate changes and future projects. That's next on WNIN Newsmakers. Welcome to WNIN Newsmakers. I'm April Nading. Centerpoint Energy has received a lot of attention lately due to their request for future rate increases. Joining us to explain those rate changes is Natalie Hetty, Vice President of Strategic Growth and Development for Centerpoint Energy. Thank you, Natalie, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So tell me about how long has Centerpoint been in business nationally and locally?
So the organization has existed for more than 150 years. So legacy companies prior to Vectren and then now Centerpoint after the merger.
Wow. And what various areas are they in besides Evansville area?
Yeah, good question. So the organization is headquartered in Houston, and we currently have service among Indiana, Ohio, Minnesota, Louisiana, Mississippi, and of course Texas. And we're in the process of divesting our territories in Louisiana and Mississippi right now, and that should probably come to fruition in the first quarter of 2025.
So would that be kind of like what they did here, taking over another one? I mean, or buying another?
So it's actually a sell.
Okay.
Yeah. So
okay.
we're selling those territories.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. And then what is your service area locally?
So locally, we serve about 150,000 electric customers in Southwest Indiana, and we have nearly 1 million customers throughout the state of Indiana that are primarily natural gas.
And when you talk about services, what kind of services does Centerpoint provide?
So we're a pure play utility, okay? So we buy natural gas on behalf of our customers on the open market, and we're responsible for delivering it to them. So we're a simple gas distribution company to our customers. For our electric customers in the state of Indiana, your electric utilities are required to not only deliver the electricity, but to produce it as well. So we manufacture and generate the electricity that we provide to our customers in Indiana.
So like in Evansville area, where do you do that?
We do it in a kind of in a diverse way, actually, in a couple different locations. You may be aware that we're going through a large generation transition from being a primarily coal-fired utility to one that's going to be led by renewables and natural gas, because in Indiana the sun doesn't always shine and the wind doesn't always blow. So that is
the sun doesn't shine.
yes. So we've got generating plants that are located in Posey County and Warwick County, and then we're going to have a plethora of renewable projects that are spotted around Southwest Indiana, but all very close to our grid, because the closer it is to our infrastructure, the cheaper it is for our customers ultimately.
And the infrastructure, so I'm just trying to get my
you
head around.
generate the electricity at the power plants, and then it is transmitted or delivered through our transmission and distribution lines.
Okay,
directly to your home.
We get my crash course here
Yes.
and how utilities work.
Yeah.
Now, so can you explain some of the line items on bills that customers may not understand, like when it has the distribution charges for natural gas? I know you were kind of talking about that a little bit.
Yeah, so there's line items on the bill that are essentially our obligation to serve. And so that is a monthly charge that is there no matter what. So those are fixed costs that are on the bills. What fluctuates on customers' bills are typically what is representative of each unique customer's usage, right? That ebbs and flows. The prices of fuel ebb and flow. We do not profit on the cost of natural gas. So whatever it is purchased for on the market on behalf of our customers is exactly what customers are charged. So there are some line items on the bill rather that fluctuate due to market conditions, and there are others such as that distribution service charge that is fixed, whereby it doesn't change from month to month.
We say you don't profit off of the gas.
The gas, right.
Then how do you all make a profit?
So it's just in the delivery system. So it's our job to get it to you. So it's a delivery service charge.
To get it to you.
Yep.
We're the ones that make it happen. So I noticed, there's been a lot of talk about people have noticed an increase in their bills in the last few months. Can you explain the recent increases and why those occurred?
I can explain the recent increases due to seasonality.
Mm-hmm.
So I think sometimes it's easy to forget that the bill that you're looking at is really for the previous month's usage, right? It got really, really cold
Mm-hmm.
in December and in January. And so the bills that customers received in February were reflective of that. So the colder it is, the more energy oftentimes that is used and the higher the bill. In other instances where those shoulder months aren't as hot or aren't as cold, and they're more comfortable, bills typically go down. So I think what customers were seeing recently was just reflective of the cold snap that we had at the turn of the year.
So does it even cost you more or to have to
Sure.
supply that
Yeah.
energy when
The
it's
supply
really
and
cold?
demand on the natural gas side of the business is a very real thing, right?
Mhm.
So when things are in higher demand, the cost typically goes up. And so again, there's no profit there, but we are buying gas. We have a portfolio by where we try to buy ahead of time, right? So that we can hedge the opportunity to not be, I guess, necessarily beholden to much fluctuation in the market, but there are times where we have to make spot purchases during periods of high demand, and it costs more.
When you say spot purchases, like what do you mean by that?
So we buy in a portfolio process natural gas on behalf of our customers, and we store it, right? So we want to have fuel for our customers well ahead of the heating season. But if ever demand starts to increase to the point where we have to buy in real time, then that's what a spot purchase means.
And then that's something that might be reflected on the bill.
Sure.
It's one of the, okay.
When those fuel costs come in.
So currently, the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission is considering another increase that Centerpoint has asked for. Can you explain why an increase is necessary and the timeline that would, if it's approved?
Yeah, I would be happy to. The rate increase that is front of the commission right now is reflective of work that has been done over the last 14 years, right? We have not filed an electric base rate case in more than 14 years. So the timing of this was actually set many years ago. It is the end of a 7-year modernization plan that we have completed on our electric infrastructure. It's also reflective of modernization efforts that we take to make sure that our grid is safe and reliable when storms come through so that customers experience lower and less frequent outages when they do occur. And it's also reflective of the costs associated with our generation transition. So what I just described, our moving away from natural gas and coal as our primary fuel sources and leading with more renewables. And so the costs associated with that is what's representative and within the ask that's before the commission. Your second question about how it will be phased in is we have asked permission to phase it in over 3 different waves. We don't want customers to see an increase all at once. So hopefully we'll be granted permission to do that, and customers will see smaller incremental increases that would take place towards the end of 2024 and would commence at the first quarter of 2026.
So, I've seen where we already have the highest rates in Indiana. So how does that happen, that it's already higher and that we need another additional rate increase?
I would say that at times we are the highest. We are not always the highest. So right now, the electric utilities in the state of Indiana and nationally, honestly, are going through this same generation transition. So the other 5 investor-owned utilities in the state are doing something very similar to us. They're retiring coal. They're building renewables. They're building natural gas combustion turbines so that power can be available at any time. And so it all really depends on where they are and their timeline associated to where we are in ours. So there's a little game of leapfrog that happens
Right.
depending on when those rate increases go into effect. So I certainly don't shy away from that. It is expensive. What we have done is tried our very best to toggle affordability levers on behalf of our customers. We can do that. We've gotten creative with the securitization of some costs that were associated with our A.B. Brown plants. That saved customers about $53 million. The phased-in approach, as I mentioned a little bit ago, is so that things can be tolerable as they're introduced. And, the economies of scale. We're a small electric utility, right? So that same $1 million transformer spread out over 150,000 customers is different than the same $1 million transformer that might be spread out in the northern part of the state over 650,000 customers. So there's a lot of different factors that go into where we fall on a monthly basis in terms of price, but we're not always number one, and I think that that's a misconception.
And so to your point, it's like you're not really comparing, it's not necessarily comparing apples to apples.
It's typically not
Because
comparing
the
apples to
different-
oranges even,
Right.
because yes, the construct and the makeup is very different. And the way the electricity is generated, like what those companies use to generate it, has a lot to do with the ultimate price that's paid by the customer.
So what are some of the long-term investments that Centerpoint has made recently?
Yeah, I mean, long-term investments, we arrive at these decisions based off of what is the output of an IRP. It's an integrated resource plan. It is a 20-year planning process of how we're going to generate electricity for our customers. So decisions that we make now, and we make them with a lot of public input. There's at least 4 public meetings associated with that so that we have the opportunity to hear from folks that are passionate about coal, they're passionate about renewables, they're passionate about natural gas. We're in a utility space where we're never going to make everybody happy, but we do try to balance our responsibility to serve against what is affordable for customers as well. So that's what you're seeing right now is the work that had been done in a previous IRP planning process is this transition. And we're excited about the opportunity to make these investments alongside with the input of our customers, which is really important. So it's not anything that we just take upon ourselves because we think it's a good idea. These are done in very collaborative manners with key stakeholder groups, and they're done in a very regulated environment with a lot of checks and balances along the way.
Well, what is your response like? We have had the meetings where they're the standing room only and people waiting to tell their stories.
Yeah.
And some of them are very passionate, about they're not going to be able to pay their bills. I mean, what kind of response or what do you have to offer those people in response?
It's important for us to listen. We care very much about what our customers think. I mean, I am raising a family here as well. We live and work and play. There's no employee discount. I think people probably make that wrong assumption sometimes. But it's important for us to listen. And they have been heard. And we work really hard to make sure that we are meeting our obligation to serve, which is our responsibility, and balancing that by making sure it's safe and reliable. And affordable to the extent that it can be. We have a lot of programs that are in place for customers that might be challenged to pay. Some of those are income qualified programs, payment arrangements. We are piloting right now within the rate case a pick your own due date. So if I get paid on the 15th of the month as an example, I might be able to choose my Centerpoint Energy bill being due on the 18th, whereby I know that from a budgetary perspective within my household, that helps me. So we're piloting some of those programs right now within the rate case proceedings that we're talking about today. The other thing I'll mention, and I can't speak to it because it's not yet filed, but we're working very hard on a bill pay assistance program so that we can do even more to help customers where they're at when they find themselves in times to pay. I would encourage customers to call us though, because we don't want customers to get disconnected. We'll do everything we can to avoid disconnection, and we want to partner with them. Everyone's circumstances are very unique, and we want to work with them to have a payment arrangement that suits their needs to the best of our ability.
Where does the money come from to help people with their bills?
Well, it comes from a lot of different places. We do a lot in the community through our foundation to help people offset other budgetary items. So self-dealing may be a term familiar to you. We can't use our own foundation money to help people pay utility bills. That's illegal. What we can do is we can grant monies around organizations that are also offering assistance. We do a tremendous amount of that that probably isn't necessarily fully recognized, so that those agencies can help people with other areas of their budget, and that helps free up money that they can then use towards their bills. So there are ways that we can help people that is still appropriate and follows the land of the law.
So what will happen if the commission doesn't approve the rate increase?
So typically, the commission will go through a process where we are right now as we filed the case at the end of 2023. We've had some public hearings associated with that. Testimony's been filed. We just received the response to that, and then we'll give our own responses back to what we received. And then they'll deliberate. We'll have some evidentiary hearings probably, and we're looking for an order sometimes towards the end of the year. They can give an order and say what they say, or sometimes these cases are settled because the people around the table have conversations like this that are professional and amenable to trying to find something that works for everybody, and they'll be settled. So typically either an order or a settlement is what we can expect towards the end of this year.
So I wanted to ask you something. You kind of mentioned how a lot of the improvements can help with things like when we have a storm. I mean, maybe you can speak on like how, it seems like now my electricity hardly ever goes out, knock on wood.
Right. That's a good thing.
Is that due to improvements?
It is.
How does that work?
Yeah, pole replacements, transformers. I mean, these things are expensive and they're important, but they work. And so if we had made all of this infrastructure investment over the last several years and you didn't see an improvement in your service, that would be a problem. I think what is good and positive and what we're able to produce as the commission reviews these requests is that we can validate that the investments we have made have improved the outage performance of our system. That's really important. The other thing that is not always seen by every customer is how hard we work with our economic development partners throughout the state of Indiana and specifically down here in Southwest Indiana. We have to have a reliable and clean electric fleet so that we can attract new economic growth to Southwestern Indiana. We want to help land big business here. We want to bring jobs to Southwest Indiana, and we do not want the utility cost or cleanliness to be an inhibitor to that. So we work really closely to make sure that we are offering that to the next big business that we want to land in Southwest Indiana and bring those jobs here.
It's a win-win for everyone, right? So what can people do with the Centerpoint app?
So with the app, yes, and I think it's refreshed here recently. Reporting outages probably is the number one convenient thing. Bill pay, auto pay, and sort of managing your bill in real time. But the outage map for me is pretty interesting. I'm on there quite a bit just because I'm a little bit nosy on blue sky days just to see what's happening. But it's also very informative. And has helped us become more efficient in the way we communicate. There's also information on there on energy efficiency programs that are available to all customers. So if you have to replace an HVAC unit or a water heater, we offer rebates that are associated because we want to incent customers to get one that's energy efficient. So we'll offer rebates to help offset the cost of a standard efficiency appliance. So there's a lot of interesting information.
A lot of good stuff. I didn't even know there was an app, so I'm checking that.
There you go.
Okay.
I sure hope there is. I just sold it. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
So you all are a sponsor of WNIN's Kids Fest. What other community efforts do you support?
You know, without, and I don't mean this in an audacious space, I am very proud of the work that the Centerpoint Energy Foundation makes. I would say you're hard-pressed to find an organization, especially a 501c3, that has not benefited from the Centerpoint Energy Foundation. We do amazing work. I'm really proud of the volunteerism that our employees insert themselves into in our community, again, because we live and work here. And I'll have to get that number to you if you want to use it, but it's somewhere to the tune of, I think $5 to $8 million a year in Southwestern Indiana that we're granting. It's important to us because, we understand that a healthy company means a healthy foundation. And we want our communities to be healthy. And it's also a misconception that foundation dollars are in your rates. That is not true. So foundation monies are shareholder dollars, and they are not at all in customer bills. And I think sometimes that's something that is a little bit misunderstood.
Well, I think it sounds like what you all are trying to convey is, yes, you are in control in a way, because everybody has to have electricity, but you recognize you do have to have electricity, and we want it to be a pleasant, or at least more pleasant experience.
That's right. That's right. It's our obligation to serve. It's our responsibility on both the gas and electric side of the business, and we want to do it in a safe way. We want our employees to go home in the same safe manner that they arrived at work every day too. So we love Evansville. We love Southwestern Indiana, and even after the merger, I think we're still proud to be a prime employer here and offer good jobs with good benefits to our customers and our employees. And we're a big part of this community, and we love it.
Well, good. Is there anything else that you want the viewers to know about?
No, I think, respectfully, I think the media sometimes, I have appreciated the transparency of this conversation. I think that the more people care to understand the value of the service for the price that they pay, if they care to understand, they would probably have a little more tolerance for what it is they're paying for. We certainly do not just want to raise bills for the sake of raising bills. It's because we have made investments that allow us to serve customers better. So I think that that's probably it's a hard uphill battle to climb all the time because oftentimes it's just about the headline. But there's a lot of people that work very, very hard to make sure that the lights are on and that your homes are warm.
I mean, yeah, because like it or not, we need electricity. And I think, though, a lot of times there's that inherent fear that, oh, they're going to raise it now, they're going to raise it again and again and again, and when does it stop? You know, that's probably one of the fears of people, is that it's just, once this one happens, then it just continues.
Yeah, well, I mean, in energy technology evolves, right? The way we generated 20 years ago isn't going to work anymore. And the way we generate power 25 or 35 years from now probably will look a little bit different. And there's a cost associated to that, but there's a cost associated to that with Evansville Water and Sewer. There's a cost associated to that to, our bank neighbors and our manufacturing neighbors. So it's not just us. The way of the world continues to evolve.
And then there are certain things that are just imposed upon you, as far as like coal and restrictions on coal.
That's right. Environmental compliance is very real.
Doesn't happen overnight and without money.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. This is very informative. I got a lot out of it, and I know about the app now.
There you go. Download the app. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks to Natalie Hetty from Centerpoint Energy for joining us today. I'm April Nading. Thanks for watching WNIN Newsmakers.